You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Rhonda Hallcouch.
Hi there.
I said that correctly, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Oh, look at that, doll, on the first try, too. Actually, it was probably multiple tries before that. But why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and, if you want, what you do professionally?
Okay. I just turned 50 and I live in a tiny little town on Lake Erie in Port Burwell, Ontario, Canada. I am a intuitive medium, Reiki Master Teacher, Hypnotist, and what else do I do? There's something else I'm forgetting, but yeah, we do all the weird things up here. And and I'm a crystal skull caretaker.
Crystal Skull. Okay. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of things you just listed off, much like
Mm-hmm.
I guess a dating profile. You started off with your age, but then you went with all these like things that you do. So which one are you the most fond of doing out of everything that you do?
Oh, being a crystal skull caretaker.
That seems like the most interesting because my mom's a Reiki master.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm open to everything, psychic abilities, paranormal, everything. I can understand it, and I'm not a big fan of Reiki energy healing, mostly because every time my mom has ever tried it on me has been when I'm trying to cook something or at the really inappropriate time. Like you just get out of the bathroom and she's like, "Let me heal your energy." I'm like, "All right, I just took a massive dump. I don't need any cleansing right now."
I just cleansed. Go away. Well, yeah. See, and like asking permission to think. See, when it's your mom, it's different because she's like totally ignoring all of your comfort zones and the things she's like all up in your space. But yeah, that would make sense. I wouldn't like it either if I was getting ambushed to have it done. That would be lame.
Even with crystal skulls, like how did you get started into doing that? Because immediately when I came across your page, for instance, I thought Indiana Jones, like immediately. I know that
You know
sounds
what?
nuts.
I've never seen the Crystal Skull movie.
Is that not ironic or what?
I know, right? Well, it's funny because I had a pretty significant nervous breakdown in 2011. And then I had to start looking at my own personal, like at my stories and try to feel better. And I was working on healing myself. And through that process, that's when I started doing Reiki. And then after I got my Reiki Master Teacher level, something happened. And I can't remember exactly what it was that drew me to them, but wow, did it draw me to them. Like I did take a trip to Sedona, and I'm not sure if it was before Sedona or after Sedona. Probably, oh no, it would have been after Sedona because I went, yeah. So anyway, I went out and I bought a 5-inch crystal skull for each chakra. I used to have a fancy job and a fancy house. So I had the cash flow to buy for a 5-inch skull. So that's a big one that fits in your palm of your hand. I bought one for each chakra. So I got an amethyst one, a sodalite one, an amazonite one, a dragon's blood jasper, a tiger's eye, an orange calcite, a red jasper, and then I bought an obsidian one to ground it down. And then what I also got is I got a lemon sized one that was charged by an ancient one. So there are people that have older crystal skulls in the community, and they all share information, right? So if you put an old one with a bunch of new ones, they all download from each other. So they share. So the first night I went to bed, I had a great bedroom. It was massive, and I had this big fireplace with a great big mantle, and I had them all across the mantle.
We
And the
get it. You
energies in
lived
my
in the
room,
You lived in the Playboy Mansion. I got you.
pretty much, but it was amazing. Well, it would have been terrifying to some people, but the first night I went to bed, it was just like swirling energy above my bed, and I just pulled up the blankets like, ha, 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 awesome. But that's when it started. And
You said the crystal skulls lined up across the bed. I immediately think of all the times I went to my grandparents' house on vacation and they had the little dolls, like the glass figurines all over the thing, and I felt like they would just turn in the middle of the night and stare at you.
oh, it's funny. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? They really do. Because the people that don't like skulls, right? They're all about death, and they're like, oh, that's so scary. But in my opinion, right, these are just meat suits that we're in for now, right? So understanding your own immortality and not being terrified by it is not a bad thing.
Well, these aren't actual skulls. They're more like
No,
creative
they're
material.
carved.
Yeah, that's what I think is so interesting, because if you look at anything that happens to do with psychic powers, religion, any type of spiritualistic type things, we have a form of using a material or an object to represent it, because either it's through channeling purposes or other things, such as maybe just an item that you can toke as religious, such as like a priest with some beads around his neck that he's able to rub or something. It's
Hmm.
it's a symbolistic type thing. I think that's what makes it more open for a lot of people. Yes, you can believe and use powers of, invisible, whatever, healing ways that way. I'm not trying to discredit it at all, but it's much easier if you have an object to hold. It feels like it's more real in your hands.
Yes. And the thing with the crystal skulls, now this is the part that sounds really whacked, but it's true. I'm walking it, living it, and been doing this for quite a while now. And I have hundreds of them. And I even have a 70-pound one named Venus at my shop. And they house entities, right? So entities of light. So what weirds people out is they'll be in my store and they'll be like, they just have to go touch the skull. Like, why do I have to touch it? And it's like, because it's bringing, and a lot of times they'll start by telling you a name, right? And that freaks people out. People are like, ah, and they're like, and some people that are psychic but fearful, they come in and they can hear all the chatter and then they panic and they leave. But it's not a dark thing. There is no such thing as a bad one. They can be cranky, but they're never bad. It's okay.
Well, I mean, even with like crystal skulls in general, like you were saying before about them being kind of like a symbol of death or something, that's not, like you're saying, it's not true, because I mean, they do look like that. And obviously that's the representation we have for that, but they're also powerful energies too, much like if you just carved a random, I don't even know, something out of wood, like if you just carve something like a totem or some type of symbolistic thing, the type of energy you're going to get from that is more meaning to you than it would be for somebody else.
Hmm. Yeah, if you carve them.
Now, even with the crystal skulls, like what's how do you charge one of those things? Like that really kind of boggles my mind. You have to have someone that's kind of practiced in the art to be able to focus their energy through it, or
There's a lot of thought around things that are very, see, in this world, there's a lot of reasons why people do things, right? And everybody has to be smart, right? And some people want to be smarter than everybody else. What I like to explain to people when it comes to crystals and a lot of the things I do is like, don't get analytical with the metaphysical, man, because the information that you get and the things you're working with are from your heart, not your head, right? So when it comes to charging and clearing and people get all wound up and paranoid about it, like if you get a skull and you don't like how it feels, well, I don't know why you picked that one for one thing, but if you do have one and you don't like how it feels, whatever you feel you need to do, right?
like
Then
having
just do
a
it.
sense of an object. Like I know sometimes I'll walk
Like if you're
into
like,
yeah,
sorry.
like, well, I mean, even for me, like if I walk past something that's like Nazi memorabilia, I'm gonna look at it and be like, "Whoa, that's got some bad juju on it." You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just because, like,
Right.
I've always brought up the fact that like people always say like, "Oh, an object can't remember, can't have feelings, can't have emotion." I'm like, no, but sometimes an object can go through so much that it's actually stained with memories. And when it's stained with memories, it was actually a thought I had when I picked up a conch shell on the beach. People say if you put your ear up to it, you can hear the ocean. And I said, are you just hearing the reverberations of the echo that's encased inside the conch, or are you hearing the stained memories of the ocean waves crashing upon it?
Neat. Yeah,
Yeah. So you got,
exactly. So everything's kind of, beliefs are fluid. Beliefs should be fluid, and you just keep learning and you keep finding new things and you keep exploring and discovering, and nothing should be locked into a vault and this is how this is. You know what I mean? Like it's an ongoing exploration of life, right? You stop learning, you start dying. So it's about learning,
what
right?
do you,
So
well, what do you find that people are most kind of stubborn to learn about, just with this in general? Like you do something very, very unique that a lot of people would look at and discredit, only because
oh yeah.
just with Reiki energy healing, like even for me cracking a joke about it in the beginning, it's not open to a lot of people. I'm very open to it. It's not my form of healing, but I've seen where it's been a benefit for a lot of people that have especially come into my house and had a healing session with my mom or something. Next thing I know, afterwards, they feel completely regenerated. I always bring up the fact is the same thing I experience when I do a podcast. After a really good conversation, both people are energetic and they feel charged. They had an awesome experience, hopefully, and they feel like they can take on the world. It's just positive, I guess, emotion or energy that we give off.
Well, we're sharing energy, and Reiki is sharing energy, right? So in a Reiki environment, you're holding the space for somebody to and giving them, and you're channeling divine healing, right? But it's like it's more of an energy exchange, right? So when we have a great conversation, that's an energy exchange. A lot of the work I do as a healer is through the conversation before I even put my hands on anybody.
Do you find that it messes up a little bit of like your energy healing when you be able to have a conversation with someone to figure out what's going on in their life, or do you try and sense it out yourself?
Oh, no. No, no, no. Well, it depends. Like if someone comes in the first time, they want a dog and pony show, and I don't do that, by the way. But we'll talk, and I always pull a card or two and kind of get them to kind of see where they're at. And I can feel where they're at. Then we pull the cards so that they know I know where they're at. And then I get them to pick stones, which further shows me further where they're at. So I have a very good feeling before my hands even touch them.
And you're talking about tarot cards, right?
No, no.
Well, you said pull a card, so I was wondering.
Yes, so oracle cards, medicine cards. So tarot cards and oracle or medicine cards are considerably different. So tarot cards are generally used for fortune telling, right? And oracle cards are a completely different animal. So an oracle card is about what's going on with you. It's all about you. Now you can do it for other people, but it's all about where they're at inside themselves on their soul's journey, not what's going to happen tomorrow.
Okay, what do you typically find on an oracle card that really reveals something about somebody?
Well, I'll discuss one I pulled the other day. The other day, I have this really cool goddess deck I like to work with, and I use it on my live videos and stuff. And it's a goddess power oracle. And I pulled the Morrigan, and the Morrigan was about death and magic. And my message is that many things come in cycles of life, birth, and death, and that there's many things changing right now. And just the whole message was all based on like there's parts of me that need to die right now, right? So parts of me that need to be healed and let go, right? So that's what I mean by letting die. But that was a message I got from an oracle card, and it was bang on with what was going on in my life at the time. So that's where if you're doing tarot cards, so you pick up my least favorite card in any deck, and I hate having it come up when I'm doing a reading, is the Three of Swords. And the Three of Swords is, well, there's three people in one thing. So that usually means infidelity, right? It could be someone that's trying to muscle in on your business, but generally it's usually someone that's trying to muscle in on your heart, or you're the one that's doing it. But still, it's just the kind of energy that it's not, if I was using an oracle deck, it could bring up a lot of different other cards that would be about like, what are you doing? Like, and where are you at in yourself, right? Because it's about why are you doing this, not this is happening.
Well, does it come with an instruction manual to be able to
Oh
decipher
yeah,
what
whole
the cards mean?
books.
Okay, I was about to say, because if you were making your own
Yeah.
interpretations of things, like
Oh
if
no.
I looked at a card with three swords on it, I'm be like, you're gonna get murdered or something. Like
No, it's a sword and a heart.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. I actually have that tattooed on the back of my one arm from a very bad experience that I had, but it's behind me. I can't even see it. I have to look at it in a mirror, but that was the point. It's behind me.
Well, what got you to the point of even trying to dive into this realm? Like I always talk to a lot of people that either do with Reiki energy healing or psychic abilities or find an inner type of spiritualistic healing or a form of meditation is always because they went through something that was very challenging in their life where they found this to be like the only thing that's really pulled them out of it. I mean, I can relate because the whole factor is like my life hasn't been the best in the year 2020. It's been pretty downhill everywhere, and trying to look for a thing of light is it's hard at times, but you find it the way you can find it. I think that's how people really pull themselves up by their bootstraps when they look for that help.
Yeah. Well, my parents are they are self-made people that worked several jobs and then have been running a big company for a long time. And when I was a kid, I was at a babysitter a lot, and I was subject to a lot of abuse when I was a kid. And I remember some things, but I am subject to a lot of repressed memories. So I could be perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden something will pop in my, like something will come back to me, and it's very upsetting. So when I was in my my mid 20s to my mid 40s, I was addicted to exercise. So I was a triathlete, and then I decided that I was a crappy runner and a poor swimmer, which was true. And then I started racing my bike. I raced my bike for 6 years, and then I had the nervous breakdown that I talked about, because I was exercising. Like a really heavy training week would go up to 18 hours. And if I had a light training week, that's when I was in trouble, because then I'd be freaking out because I'm like, I wasn't doing enough. I used to drive my coach insane.
You're
But anyway,
scaring me really bad right now because I don't know if you've known this, but I'm a workout freak. And when I mean I'm a workout freak, I've worked out every day, have not missed a day for 7 years now. And even with the coronavirus thing going on, all gyms are closed. My gym owner just gave me the key and said, I know how much this means to you, because I would literally lose my shit if I couldn't go. It's how I keep my demons in line.
exactly. Exactly, my friend. That's exactly what happened. And that's exactly what I did. And that's okay, because it's not time for you to wrestle with your stuff, right? You're 22. Go to the gym. Do the things you need to do. Be happy, right? But as you get older, every time you hit a zero, though, they start banging a little bit louder on that door, right? And so every time you hit another zero in your age, they're like, they start in your 20s, like, excuse me, hey, and it's like, oh, I don't like this, so I'm just going to keep busy, right? And then you get to your 30s, and it's like, excuse me, ma'am. And when you hit 40, it's like, bitch, open the door. And then, and if you don't do your work, you'll see a lot of people between the ages of 40 and 50 that have a lot of substance abuse problems, because, you get to a certain point, and either you're working out like so much that you've hurt yourself, or something goes wrong, and you're trying to find ways to cope, right? But it's as simple as a inward reflection, and doing taking the time and doing the personal work and doing the healing, right? So it's doable, and it's okay, because you have time. Right? And it depends on what level you're supposed to be at this round.
It seems
Right?
like,
So
yeah, but for a lot of people, we like to think that we're supposed to be somewhere farther ahead in the game. Like even for me at the age of 22, and most people out there, we just feel like we've gone so far, we've done so much work, but none of it has been for our benefit of our own. It's always been for a company. It's always been for something. That's why you're seeing a lot of people start their own businesses. You're seeing things happen, people owning new companies, being able to take giant risks because they end up just leaving this 9 to 5 lifestyle of working for a person that's not benefiting them anymore. A lot of people don't want to be corporate anymore.
we were not born to pay bills and die.
That's deep.
We weren't. That is not why we're here. We have been brainwashed into believing that we just have to be busy. Oh my God, we have to be at work all day and at the gym all night, and then come home and have our houses be perfect and blah, blah, blah. And that's all BS. It's none of that's true. You were born to be, and be whatever the heck you want. I once had a reading with a girl who, I just love her. She's so awesome. She was a ferry boat captain in the summertime, and she would drive a ferry boat out in BC between the island and the mainland. And then in the winter, she'd do different things, and she'd travel around. And she didn't feel like she was successful because she wasn't married, and she didn't have kids, and she didn't have some type of fancy career. And I'm like, oh my God, you get to see whales and dolphins every day. And, you're just living your life, like all these expectations that everybody pounds on people's shoulders, and they're supposed to be all these things. It's all a lie. None of that has to happen. Like, I think that her life was amazing. And the look on her face and the realization of her realizing her life was amazing, right? So I don't know. We get barricaded down by all these beliefs that we've been spoon-fed since we were born, right? But that's part of remembering who we really are, right? So it takes time. It takes time to be like, you know what? This is stupid. Like, I had a pretty nice house. It wasn't like, fancy by big city standards, but it was a beautiful home, and I had a job working with my family, and I had a very good paying job, and I had all the things. And I had cancer, and I got better, and then I had a bad relationship, and it ended, and I'm like, you know what? I'm like over this. And I sold all my stuff except for my motorcycle. And then I bought a little house out on the lake and came out here Didn't know anybody within an hour's drive.
You got to go back to the thing with the cancer. Like, was that something that led you also to kind of dive into this full force, like be able to become very, very spiritual? Because like we were talking about before, when losing everything or maybe a health condition scare type thing, a lot of people become motivational speakers. A lot of people become healers because they've been through that rough.
Hmm. Well, to be honest, the things I went through as a kid were significantly more difficult for me than the things that I went through as an adult, especially the cancer thing. Because the cancer thing was this weird, rare kind of skin cancer that was like a sarcoma that came out of my leg. And I got it when they found it. My biggest thing with it was it made me really upset because I've always known my expiry date. And I know that there's some variables, right, that could change it, but I pretty much have a pretty firm number in my head of where I'm going. And so I was really surprised and very upset that this was happening and that I could possibly have something happen. And, you know, I think the best example of my attitude through my life was I was running once. It was like 18 kilometers. So that's about 10 miles, right? I was running from one town to the other. I had a backpack on with my shoes in it. I was on my way to pick up my bike and go for a ride and a bicycle. And I remember thinking in my head, I'm not always going to be this way. I'm not always going to be this way. Right. And so when I got my diagnosis, it really kind of threw me off because I'm like, wait a minute, you're not always going to be this way. So what if this is it? If this is it and you're still living this muggle BS life, oh, you're going to be mad at yourself if you die. Oh, you're going to be pissed because you knew this big giant weirdo that I am now was here, right? I always knew this part of me was me, but I just kept her repressed really hard for a really long time. So I think that's what the cancer mostly did, was just more of a wake up call with like, listen, like smarten up and get with the program. You know where you're supposed to be, get there.
I feel like it's hard to get to that mindset too, because like even like me, for example, like I'm 22, I feel completely lost. You know what I mean? And everyone's like, "Oh, you got the world way ahead of you," but it's like so many people have done so much more at my age than I have been able to accomplish. You have those inner thoughts, and like even with thinking about like my life and everything, like so many times you get stuck into a job. Like I was in a job for like 4 years, it just flew the fuck by. I was like, holy crap, this isn't what I want to do. And I ended up leaving and then like trying to find and the struggle to be able to get something for myself. It seems like everybody's calling at the top. And the only way to really kind of get there is by hurting or stepping on someone else's hands to get over there. And I've never been about that process. I've worked my ass off to help people. And if anything, lift people up to the top before me, because I think we're all in
Mm-hmm.
here together. We should all work together. But even though it'd be way easier for me to be able to do a completely different thing, trash people, do whatever, and get to the top, it's just not I'm not about that life. And I'll be more than happy to put in the time and effort it is to get there if that's what it takes to do it the correct way.
And the thing is that's none of this is even real, right? So you
We're in
don't
the
have to
Matrix.
be,
Is that what you're saying?
yeah. Oh my God, yes. It's so much like the Matrix is like one of my favorite things because it is so much like the reality that we're in, right? Like when we realize that we have the pen to our own stories and we can create our own dynamic, right? We can create our future, right? And our words create our future every day. When we say that there's nothing for us to do, then there's nothing for us to do. If we talk about all the things we're going to do because we believe it's possible, even if we don't know how, and then they happen, that drives people crazy because they don't want to believe that, but it's true, right? So, there's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say,
There's
right?
more than one way to skin a cat. I don't think I've
Haven't
ever
you heard
heard.
that?
I don't think I've ever
That's
heard that in my
terrible. It's
entire
a
life.
terrible, terrible expression. I don't know where it comes from. I'm looking at my cat. I'm like, I'm sorry, man. But
Sorry, bro. But that's literally true though. Like with the Matrix whole thing, I've thought about that a couple of times. Like, when like people talk about deja vu and stuff, I'm like, that, yeah, I do understand where that could be a psychic ability because I've known to see things like that before. My mom says I'm something that's called an empath. I don't really
yes.
know what that is. Mostly I get a sensing emotion, having empathy for
Yeah.
people, but she talks
That's
about it
being
like,
an empath.
yeah, she talks about it being very strong. Like she talks about how my grandmom can see like dead things. And I've never truly understood it until I had a dream probably around 8 months ago. And what happened was I had like this very like intense dream, which I barely sleep. I'm an insomniac, so when I do dream, it is pretty intense. But this it was a person that was like dead lying in a ditch, and then I ended up coming downstairs and explaining the dream to my mom, and she asked me, "Can you do me a favor?" I said, "What?" She goes, "Look at this photograph and tell me, is this the person that you saw in your dream?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "Where did you see this?" And I described the place, and then 2 days later they found the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I've had things like that happen before. I usually wake up really, really early in the morning because I just can't stand to be around people. It's very, very hard because I can
Mm-hmm.
sense everybody's pain, and I haven't really dealt with it in a way. Um, she talks about it like you have this energy, you have this thing about you, and even talking about it sounds a little bit nuts to people that don't know what this is like. But for
Yeah.
someone like you that's been able to experience, things of this sort, you can understand me a little bit. And
Mm-hmm.
she goes, the reason why you're so good at podcasting is being able to read a person. You're able to sense where you want the conversation to go, where you want this to go. It's why you're so good at talking to people. But the also reason why you wake up so early in the morning, get all your stuff done, and you refuse to go out around when normal people are at the stores because you can't handle all the emotions and all the intakes of information. And the easiest way I can describe it to people is like the scene from Superman where he's sitting in the closet and the mom is telling him to sift through all the information and just focus on one thing. That's what it's like. I have so many things hitting me at once where I'm like trying to focus in on, just myself, trying to keep my thoughts in line. I end up getting stuck in my head for so long.
Oh, I totally understand that. That is very much my life as well. But what we have to do as empaths, because you're this way for a reason, is you have to learn to protect yourself with a bubble, right? So you need a bubble because you don't want to build a wall, because a wall means that because the reason why you're able to feel things is because it's a gift, right? So being able to feel things is a gift. So you need to protect yourself energetically so that you don't feel everything like a punch in the stomach. Because if you're somewhere and you feel it like a punch in the stomach, in my world, that's a universal sign that it's not your crap, right? That means you're taking the behaviors, other people's behaviors personally, and you have to distance yourself. So by distancing yourself, you just be like, oh, that's not mine. And then you could look and you're like, oh man, that guy's having a bad day. And maybe, you could be like, hey, I don't know, you're in a big city, but out here, I'd be like, if I see somebody struggling like that, I'm like, hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? Are you okay? Because sometimes just a kind word to a stranger when you can feel that they're having a terrible time can really help shift their whole mood.
Well, even like in the world today, I always talk about society and the way people are. Like everything I've really learned besides doing conversations with people is really just observations of things that I've started to notice. I've been more keen to detail in my everyday life. As people, we have lost the one thing I think that we respected the most and really kind of took for granted, which was the inherent, I guess, primal thing about us, which was caring about each other,
Mm-hmm.
truly actually helping one another. You'll only see this now when something crazy happens, like a terroristic attack. Even with this giant disease or virus thing that's spreading so quickly, we're not at the mindset to care about people anymore. We're at a fight for yourself type mentality, and we've lived like this for a very long time. Maybe not it's not so heavily in some areas like yourself, but I think you can even sense that there's a lot of people out here that don't give two shits about anybody anymore. Like when they walk by
Mm-hmm.
and say, hey, how's your day going, and they're still walking, I won't answer you because you don't actually care. It's very, very weird that we're living in this world now where we just give false answers. We don't have real conversations. We don't get to learn about anybody anymore. We don't care about anybody anymore. It's because for so long we've been just bred and bred and bred to live this for yourself mentality, and that's not us as a
It's so
human.
empty.
Yeah, as a human race, we've cared for one another. Now the only time you ever get a deep conversation with someone is if it's your fucking therapist. And I'm like, that shouldn't how it be. I mean, that's not how it should be. Let me fix that grammar. I don't want to look like an uneducated fool. But like I always talk about like family dinners used to happen 7 days a week. You would sit down, even if it was for 15 minutes, okay, whatever. You would sit there, you would be around some people. Maybe it was a friend. You would be able to have that close interaction, but social media has made it to the point now that 7 maybe day a week family maybe has it 3 days a week at the most, but it's all just eating as much as you possibly can, getting it done, and then running up to do your own thing. We've completely disconnected each other from our own family. There's people in my household that will text me or voice text me to do something or ask me something. I'm like, we're in the same fucking house. Come up the stairs. I'm not that lazy. I hate using my phone. I can set things up, maybe like a meeting or a podcast, but like people are like, hey, answer your phone. Answer your phone. I called you 3 times. I'm like, I leave my phone in the car when I go to the grocery store. I hate having this device in my pocket, mostly because my jeans are too damn tight for it to fit in there. But it's that reaction of wanting to check it, wanting to know what's on Instagram, just refreshing to see who the hell
Mhm.
gives a shit. What you have on social media does not mean anything. I rather have close friends and family, things that I really didn't have when I was a kid. Now I would love that now, but we all hold that as a lower currency than just, I guess, our social media devices.
Oh yeah, it's gotten right out of hand. Like I have that my partner and I really struggles with that. And it's like I put myself on a Facebook diet, so I went into the settings of my phone so I can only look at it for an hour and a half a day. If I'm doing stuff for my business, then I can go on a computer and do the things I need to do and get off, but on my mobile device, an hour and a half. And then it boots me off. And I've only gotten booted off once because every time I go on, I'm not about to fall into a hole. I just go on, look at what I need to look at, and then get off. And that's making my life feel a little bit better. But my partner falls into his phone. He plays games on there and stuff. And it's like he loses hours and hours of his life to it.
Oh shit,
And
Dragon
when I
City on my
try,
phone is one of the worst things in the world. I had to take my bank card off of it because I was spending so much money
mm,
on gems. You can't
they're not even real.
it doesn't matter. You
It's
can't
not
throw
real.
$4.99 for 100 gems. That's a steal.
I've heard this conversation. I've had this conversation. It's not a steal. They're not real. See, that drives me insane because like I'll see this Apple person. I'm like, what did you do for $50 with Apple? Oh, there was a sale or there was a tournament. And I'm like, oh my God, please stop buying things that aren't real. But yeah, the electronic devices really, really see what I find and what I
I
think that
love
they've
that
done.
sigh. That was the deepest sigh ever.
But what I think they've done by design is that through our phones and computers and social media and all these different things, what they've done is they've mimicked a very similar feeling to meditation. Okay. So if you can meditate in a nice deep state, it feels very much like I when I used to play solitaire on my iPad, I would do it on purpose without thinking. I would see how well I could do without actually engaging in it at all, which is very similar to meditating, but it's not meditating, right? Meditating is opening up your crown chakra and allowing a download from the creator, right? But when you're on a device, it mimics the same feeling. So it feels like you're getting something when you're really not getting something.
Like a false stimulation.
It's totally false.
I
But
always
it
bring that
feels
up
like
with
it's giving you something, but it's not real.
well, I always bring that up with social media. So what I always say is like, you would be able to come home after a long day. You would have a close friend or maybe a family member that would sit there and listen to your problems, be able to hear you vent and be able to actually feel like a response from it, such as like a deep conversation with someone like explaining everything in your life. Okay. Next thing you know, that person's like, I'm so sorry that, and gives you that consolation, whatever that, like, here, let me hug you, let me console you, let me show you that I'm listening to you and I'm sorry and I'm here if you need me. That whole thing that turned into a fucking Facebook post that went to my life sucks. This is happening to me. Then you got a like. And then you did it again. You got 2 likes and 3 likes and 4 likes and 5 likes. And then by the end of the week, what the weird thing happened is when we made that normal, when that became normal, when you would go from 7 likes on a post like that and then the next day you did it and people were like, all right, I'm not gonna fucking like it again, like this is every day for a month now, get over it, like come on, seriously, talk to somebody. Then you would get 1 like on that post. The weird thing was you would delete it because it didn't live up to the expectation. It was false consolation, I would say, or false consoling. It felt like you were getting that pat on the back that you would get from a family member or a friend. If you had that deep conversation with a family member or a friend, even if it was 30 minutes, that one conversation in that day would last a very long time. It felt
Oh yeah.
better. But that
Yeah.
Facebook post is what I would call temporary. It's like
Yeah.
like a little band-aid for a day or something, or like a little tiny pill that makes it go away for a
Well,
couple.
you need to express yourself. And the one thing that as empaths though, is we don't like the people, right? So social media, and there's more and more empaths being born all the time, right? And so it's we're the worst for social media a lot of times because we don't like the people, right? I don't like I have very few like-minded people in my world, right? So from I don't have a lot of people I can talk to that understand things the way I understand things. And so, but there are other people, but they're all over the world. So that's the only way that I was ever able to get in contact with them or have any contact with them is through social media too. So it is bad, but at the same time, as empaths, we kind of, especially, well, now I'm in a remote area too, right? Like there's a town of 600, I don't think there's 600 people. There might be 600 people here in the summer and like maybe 150 in the winter, or
That sounds
300.
fucking awesome.
It is. I'm like, I don't have to wear pants. I can go whole days without having to put on pants. I can stay in my pajamas. I can relax.
See, I got people living all over the place. I got to dress up and go outside because we live in a world where it's everything is caring about what else someone else thinks of you. That's all it
Ugh.
is. It's all judgment. It's all these
Mm.
two-faced society where everyone judges everybody. It's a quick thought in your head. It might go away, but it's stronger in a lot of people. A lot of people tend to hone in on it. Like this person has a car. This person has this. It's all
Oh.
comparisons. It's so backwards flipped how we came. And that's only because we lived in this mentality for so long that you got to be the best. And the way to be the best is be like this guy, be like that guy, be like that. It's like, hold on a second. Let's backtrack it back to the beginning when we first started figuring out how the fuck sticks and stones worked. Let's talk about this. Let's find other ways of healing. Let's get this weird, creepy gremlin monster that we have in the back of our heads that cares about our ego, all these types of things. I have a huge fucking ego. I really do. It's a problem, and I've been fixing it. People always compliment me on my podcast saying, "You sound so smart. You sound this. You sound so humble." I do that because there is that little bastard. There is that little guy that I'm trying to squash down. I have always, my whole entire life, from being bullied in school and all these types of things to always caring about what someone else cares about me or looks at me as a whatever. I always have cared about what people thought. But what is that going to matter? Because those people aren't going to be in your life forever. Those people are going to be gone probably the next minute away. Like, why do I
And
care
they're
about?
superficial dicks. Who cares? Like that's the thing, because I've been weird since I was a little kid. I've always been like the oddball out, and and there's never been a lot of other oddballs to hang out with because I've always lived in more remote places. But I'm like, who gives a crap what these people think? Because they're that gummed up and all that shit, they're not even real. They're not authentic. They don't have a clue. They're just looking to see the next Instagram post or what they're supposed to look like or what they're supposed to be doing so that they can model themselves after that.
Yo,
I
check
think
me
the
out on the
deeper,
gram, yo. This is my
yeah.
picture of my pizza on a plate. What's up?
The thing is I think like the bigger question here is expectations. And the bigger thing is expectations. So how do your expectations lead to your unhappiness? Right? So I had in my yoga teacher training a few weeks ago, I had another epiphany because I've done a lot of work around my expectations, but I didn't think about the fact sometimes it's simple. Sometimes it's not like you expected this from someone and they didn't do it and you were upset and that's why you're suffering. But so you're not suffering because they didn't do what you thought, it's because you thought they'd do something. Right? But sometimes you expect people to live and they die.
It
Right?
seems like the ones that I guess live the longest do the most dangerous things, and the ones that try and play it safe and keep it cool really
Oh,
burn out quick.
oh my God, I had used to have my best friend in the 90s, in the early 90s. I only had her for a little while because then she found some guy from Texas and moved away. But she was amazing. And she did all sorts of stupid, crazy shit all the time with her horses and stuff. And we do all sorts of wild stuff and have so much fun. And I'd be looking at her, I'm like, oh my God, that's so dangerous. But she'd be like, what? And she never hurt herself and everything. It was just like, it was fine. She never had an issue, right? But sometimes the awareness of the thing that could go wrong is what makes the thing go wrong, right? So when you look at sometimes like health and safety can be a real double-edged sword. So you want to be mindful about being around things that are harmful, but you don't want to be so obsessed with things that are harmful that you create the harm and happening to yourself.
Do you find that when you go out into public, you try and call people out on their shit a lot of times? Like, I know a lot of people, at least in the world, most people, they don't ever really want to call out someone when they do something wrong. They choose to ignore, to be calm because they're afraid of getting into a confrontation. I'm not saying I look for the confrontation. I'm just saying, like, I've drove and I've heard someone, like, scream out a window or get on somebody's ass or do something rude. And I just go, get the fuck off the cell phone. Like, I had it happen the other day. Like, I was driving and someone almost, like, I was following a family member in a car. They were going to drop it off. I had to go follow them and pick them up when they dropped the car off. And someone literally, like, immediately, like, cut, didn't, they took the turn when it wasn't their turn, and they did that, and they were on their cell phone the whole time. Then they're sitting there stopped at a red light. It turns green. They sit there and wait a minute. I have to honk, and they start going, and they're driving dangerously, going in and out of the lines where they're driving. I just pulled up beside them. I was like, get the fuck off the phone. I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to do this type of stuff, but I'm going to call you out on your shit. If you do something outrageous in public, you act insane, I'm going to call you on it. And, like, I remember at one point in my life, I'd be so afraid of that confrontation, but I legit stopped giving a shit. It's the same thing of, like, going up on stage and you're nervous in front of all these people.
Mhm.
That's going to happen. But I'm like, who the hell cares? I don't
Yeah.
plan on being around on this earth forever. What am I going to be worried about? Oh, I didn't take that shot. Okay.
Now, see, as a healer, my job is to stay in unconditional love and compassion, right? So for me, to see someone in that situation, I'd be like, wow, they're having a really bad day. I wonder what the hell's going on with them. You know what I mean? Like,
Wait, someone in
because
my position or someone driving on their cell phone?
the guy driving in that was driving so erratically and talking on the phone, like, who knows what is happening with him and what was going on. Like, there could have been a really legit reason why they were freaking out and panicking and blah blah blah.
This
Like
bitch
their
was
house.
ordering something off Uber Eats. I know for a fact. I saw the word mouth taco, and I'm like, this guy is planning a quesarito lunch meal.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm like,
Well, you
look,
know what?
we got
When it comes
Bluetooth in
to
our
confronting
cars too.
people, yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Like, if you have Bluetooth and you're not using it, you're a dick. But when it comes to oh, my brain, I just went out on powder. Confronting people.
It's the
Yeah.
crunch wrap that threw you off.
Yeah. So it did. The thing with the confronting people thing is that the only thing that really irritates me, or that I feel that I have to say something about, is blatant racism, or even subtle racism. Any kind of racism whatsoever will get an eyebrow and a stand, and I will say things. I will not idly stand by a group of people that are shit talking a particular group of anything, because we are all the same. Nobody is any better than anybody else. We're all here just in these meat suits. We all came down here to learn shit, and then we're gonna go. Right?
Yeah, I treat you with respect if you treat me with respect. That's kind of my motto.
But it's not about but it's not about, and if they don't treat you with respect, it's not because of the color or the size or the shape or the way that their meat suit is or who they pray to. It's just they might be being a dick right now, because everybody has to be a dick sometimes. But you know what I mean? Like, it's not about that. And so that's something that will cause me to engage. Now, but I'm trying to be more of a positive engagement. So if I see something really shitty, I don't jump all over it and scream at people, but I'll take a moment and I'll say, okay. And I'll think, okay, how can I shift this? And then I'll just say some random comment that'll make them all go, what? And then just keep walking. But just something light enough that they can see that, oh, we're being total assholes right now, and we feel bad because you can find a way. It's kind of a subtle. It is kind of, it's not unlike yelling at them, but it's much more subtle. It's softer, and it hurts more, because when they realize it, then they can't react to it like I'm the asshole for saying it, because it's delivered in such a way that they're just like, shit. And then
I'll even be in a store or something, and like I'll hear someone, like the other day, there's a woman that was taking an extremely long time to get her bank card out of her purse or whatever, and it was taking like good 15 minutes. I'm just sitting there chilling, kind of like, tapping my foot, and the dude in front of me is like, oh my God, are you serious? Like, out loud so she can hear it, obviously. That's kind of the point of it. I just looked at him like, the fuck you in such a hurry for? And he just looks at me and goes, "What?" I'm like, "What are you in a hurry for?" Like, I'm not shouting. I'm not yelling at him. I'm just calling him out on his bullshit. I'm
Yeah,
just like,
like,
"What are you like?" That's how I always am. And like, I'll have people grab me like, "Stop, stop. Right, don't say that. Don't say that." I'm just like, "Why?"
oh, they
I'm
won't
not,
like me. Who
like,
gives a
oh,
shit? I don't
I'm
care if you like me.
he's being an asshole. I'm gonna call him out on being an asshole. I've had that
Yep.
happen multiple times. I'm in a store.
Yep.
Someone shoved me in a store because they were on their phone and they just like the shoulder shove, that whole mentality thing,
Mm.
not paying attention. I just looked at him. I was like, "Really, man?" And he goes, "What?" I'm like, "You're being an asshole. Pay attention, dude. We're all working here together. Like, it's not nothing like that." And then like I've had people get, cut off people in traffic. I've had people, cut somebody in a line or something, or do something, or say something, or do something rude, like and exhaling and trying to make it obvious that they're in a rush or something. I just look at them. I'm like, is that needed, bro? Like, is that needed? Like, you can call it heckling on the street or whatever. I'm not doing it to be an asshole. I'm just doing it because I'm tired of people getting away with so much of this shit that we just choose to ignore
Well,
because
they
we're
don't
have a
realize, right?
conversation.
When you're standing in a line, right? As soon as you start getting impatient, time slows down. And it does. It's literal. Time isn't even real, right? And so it's like if you're frustrated and you're pissed off and you're in a hurry and you're mad at everyone that's not moving fast enough, you are creating time to slow down. Right? The moment you can detach from time and not give a shit when you get through the line, then it's like, wow, that was fast. It's weird.
It's hard to detach from time though because we have so many things that are on a time-based schedule, like our jobs, a certain appointment that we go to, and I'm just like, I'm looking at it all. I'm like, can we like? Is life just literally endless bills and endless meetings and times and all this random coordination of stuff? Why can't it just be like we live? Why do we have to live by this paper that controls our whole entire life? Like, oh, that's how society works. I'm like, well, that society's fucked, man.
It is fucked. It's so fucked. That's why it's like you just have to push back and be different. You don't have to be engage and be like all the other a-holes out there. You can do whatever the hell you want, right? And they make you feel really bad when you're not doing what they want you to do. Like, even as I have a business, right? Do you know what time my store opens?
7 o'clock.
Noon.
That's
Because I
some.
don't like mornings.
That's a.
I don't like mornings. I
Well,
got
you're
I got
doing a
dogs to
morning right
walk.
now. You can't get.
I
Yeah,
know.
that's
But
awesome.
but no, I should get up earlier. I think I'd be happier if I did, but I'm not ready for that right now. But I have dogs that need to be walked, and I have, I like to do the things I need to do around the house a lot of times. Like, that's what am I trying to say? And I don't want to. I almost lied. I'm like, no, I don't like to do it in the morning, but I like my personal time in the morning.
What's your one dream or one end goal that you really want to accomplish? And besides, I mean, you own your
Oh.
own business, so maybe like that's one thing, but do you have one interpersonal thing that you really want to accomplish? For me, I'd love to live in a fucking log cabin out in the middle of the woods, grow a nice thick ass beard, and just podcast all day where I don't have to worry about anything. Literally, I don't care about being super rich. I have no want to be rich because I know it would just corrupt me in the end. Do I want to be able to survive? Yes. Do I want to do anything more than that? Not really. I mean, honestly, I'm happy just talking to people every day and then maybe have in that log cabin my own personal gym. But,
But, well, you know what? For starters, yay beards. But the thing is that everything is like it's constant and ongoing, right? So you don't really want to have an end game because that would be the end of the game. But I know, like, I would like in a relatively um, reasonable time frame, I would like to live in a different place. Now, I love my little house. My little house is awesome, but my boyfriend has a lot of stuff, and now my house is kind of full. And I would like more space to put things away because I do like to cook, and so I have things for my kitchen is like a little bit overstocked with. I have a lot of things to cook with, and then he likes to buy condiments like it's the apocalypse. Like, oh my god, like I was attacked twice last week by jars of relish, twice in one day. I had one fly out of the fridge and smash on the floor, and then I had another one come out of the pantry and almost hit me in the head.
maybe
But
he's
it's
just not
because
putting it back properly.
no, he's not. But the whole condiment thing is a bone of contention. But um, I don't know. Like, I would like to have a space where my family, where because I have 3 dogs and 4 cats and a snake and a lizard. So I would like more room for my pets because 4 cats in a very small house is very
It's a damn animal
tight.
farm over there.
I know, right? My best friends are animals. But
That's the
yeah.
best part too, is because a lot of them are, I mean, they have emotional connection to you that people used to offer, but now they don't have it anymore. You know, as people, our friends used to be that type of thing, but that's why you're seeing a lot of people have emotional support animals. It's like there's a reason why they're meant for that, is because they have no other care in the world besides you. Literally, dogs invest into you. Cats kind of do, even though sometimes they can be a little bit like, oh, I'm on my own. That's amazing for people that are like, I like an animal to be there to kind of pet from time to time, but I don't want to have to sit there and hands and knees,
You
I
don't
guess,
want them to
work
be
for them.
clingy.
Yeah. And a dog's more like, I need you to survive. If you don't come home for 2 days, I'm going to be dead on the floor. A cat's like, you cannot come home for a month. I don't give two shits.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Well, my animals are very connected to me energetically as well. And so, yeah, I'd like to have a space someday where we have more room. Not someday, but some days, like in a reasonable time frame. That's what I'm working for. But everything's going to shift, right? Like we only need to have enough. There's too many people that have so freaking much and won't share. And then there's people that don't have any damn thing at all. And I just think that, like I think that there's more room for people to have enough, and people that live spiritual lives, and people like, so you're being your true self would be living in a log cabin doing podcasts all day, and that's brilliant, and that is something that you can do, and that's something that is completely attainable. But the first thing you have to do is believe that that is not your end game, that is your reality, and then believe that it's going to happen, and don't worry about it, because that's the secret to getting what you want, is A, not worrying about it, and B, believing like it's already happening, right? So you can work on that and manifest that, and like you're really good at this, so I think that it's really reasonable,
You're
right?
complimenting my ego again. Don't let that little bastard grow any bigger.
But yeah, but you know what I mean? Like it's like, I don't know, like I have a 70-pound crystal skull, and I have a room
Hold
with
on
like,
a second. Hang on a second. A 70-pound crystal skull. I'm sitting here thinking that the most is probably like a 5-pound bowling ball or
oh hell
something.
no,
70 pounds.
I got bigger than bowling ball one sitting on the coffee table looking at me right now. But at my shop, I have a rose quartz skull. Her name is Venus, and I channel messages from her when I do my lives too. And she's amazing.
The one thing I really love about all your stuff so far that I've seen is the statues. You had one called Morgan, which was off a video
The
game.
Morrigan.
Yeah, she was off a video game that I used to play, and she had a crow as a pet, and she could turn into a spider. It was pretty
That's
sick.
an ancient Celtic goddess. And I actually spoke of her already in this podcast. That was the card that I chose to tell you about as an oracle card. It was the Morrigan, and it was about death and magic.
Oh my God, it all comes back around.
Always. Always. It's all so interconnected.
Well, I'm such a giant fan of folklore in general, or mythology in general, like when it comes to ancient gods and all these types of things. I love to always
Hmm.
think on that aspect of things. I like to kind of like, same thing with spiritualists, where they incorporate kind of the elements as into their own spirits, like a water spirit or fire spirit.
Hmm.
I like to look at things and see, like to envision a person that's involved in that thing, like, you know, the goddess of the harvest, Hestia, or something like that. I always like to look
Hmm.
at it in that type of perception, because it makes it more understandable for my mind. Like, because if you truly
Hmm.
look at the world in general, we're on this giant thing that's so self-efficient that we're literally like a parasite on it, and but it's all
Uh-huh.
so
We're
much.
like a virus.
Yeah,
People are like a virus.
yeah, but we're
We really
fighting one right
are.
now with this freaking
But
whatever it's
but it's
called.
like a metaphor. Do you know what I mean?
It's for like
It's
a
like,
bigger world.
well, it's like a metaphor for like how we live now, right? We want to take over everything, and we want to have everything, and we want to, we want to put pipelines everywhere, and we want to destroy everything so that we can have more. But we don't realize that there won't be any more if we have it all.
It seems like once we started getting a lot and becoming very sustainable with like food and everything, is when people started looking for like Twitter wars and all these other types of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it got way too comfortable just to be able to get food and survive. Back in the day, everyone worked so much and was trying to like just be able to pay bills and stuff, you know, that they didn't give two shits about social media attacks and arguments. But now it's gotten
Well,
to the point it's so comfortable, we just throw a Twitter jab at somebody.
if you think about it, our great grandparents, or my great grandparents, your great great grandparents, um, they used to live a lifestyle where they didn't have to go on diets, man, because they had to like wash their clothes on like had to scrub their own clothes, right? People had to cut firewood. People had to like do things. Even in the post-war modern type society, life was still significantly harder than it is now. Everything now is a click or a button or a drop away. Like, so there's so many things that you don't have to do, that we have to come up with other ways to move our bodies, because the things that we normally needed to do, we made obsolete. Right? So it's like we're evolving into a giant puddle of goo that just can blink its eyes to change the channel on the TV.
Well, you even come in interaction with a lot of people. What do you typically see as the biggest problem on everybody's minds? It seems like we all think on the same basis of things, besides our initial inspirations and wants, but we all have this worry or this fear inside of us that is exactly the same.
Well, I think what it is that we all feel that we're alone. We all just feel that we're alone and we're different, and we are not. We all come from the same place. We are all the same energy in different meat suits having different experiences. And that's the one thing I work at helping people see when they come pop in for a visit and see the store and whatnot, is just, we are all the same energy, right? And different meat suits here to have different experiences. And so in my lay of the land speech that I do on YouTube, I talk about like, we are like, there's like the creator source energy. Like, so if you were asked like, what is God, right? Well, God is simply the energy that's all above us, right? But it's all of what's in us, right? And so sometimes I get this visualization of the world, and you see people kind of going up and coming down, and because you're never the same thing twice, I don't know, like just understanding that we are all the same and that everybody's come here to learn shit. So I know like with spirit, right? So when I talk to spirit, there's the unascended and there's the ascended spirit, right? So I don't talk to random dead people because they don't have any knowledge. They don't know shit, right? But I'll talk to ascended spirit, which are humans that have crossed over. And when they've crossed over, they've gone to their soul's room. They've downloaded all the things they used to know before they picked this life and came here to learn stuff. And they've integrated this life with all the things they know. And then they have something to do in the next part, right? So the reasons why people don't cross over is because they either thought they were going to hell, or they didn't believe in that kind of thing, or they were here to help people. And so my point is getting here. So little Johnny has a crack problem, okay? And grandma dies, and instead of going to the next level, right? Go to the light, grandma, just go, right? You got other shit to do, don't stay here. So when they don't, because they're like, oh, but I have to help. But what she doesn't understand when she stays down here and she doesn't get her infinite knowledge of everything download, when she crosses, she doesn't understand that Johnny picked this life. And he came here to learn about suffering and addiction, right? That is his path. And that is okay. When you look at everything in the context that we are going to be the nicest, smiliest asshole that ever lived, and we're going to be the most terrible monster that ever lived, and every damn thing in between until we learn all the things about this place and we're finished, right? Then there's another place to go after that, right? So that's the whole point. So understanding that we are not alone, it is not just, we're not just randomly, here. Like there's a lot more to the story. There's a lot more to the world and a lot more to the reality that we're living in right now than what most people are prepared to accept.
We like to think that we figured it all out and we know everything so far, just with all the things that we've made so far. It's like we haven't even really scratched the surface. We've really
No.
ruined the planet before we even had a chance to learn anything about it. We've done that with everything so far. We
Yeah,
like
we
to think we're
consume
so
like viruses.
yeah, we like to
Yeah.
think we're so advanced. I'm like, we don't even understand the closest thing to us, our fucking brains. Nobody understands how that shit works. It's like, instead of going
Well,
into outer space and focusing on this thing, let's try to unlock our inner mind.
the thing is too, and like your intuition and all that, actually, in my opinion, from my learning, is not from your mind, it's from your heart, right? So your heart is your knowing, right? The shit you just know, right? Your brain is here just to screw everything up and make everything garbage, right? So every interaction that you have and you walk away and you're like, oh my God, did I see that? Did I do that wrong? Did I say that wrong? What do they think? Blah, blah, blah. That's all your brain, because your brain's an asshole. Your brain is just
Literally,
here to chip
that's
away
my
at your
7th grade.
happiness.
That is my
Yeah.
7th and 8th grade. Every time I said something to a girl, I was like, "Damn, you could have said that a lot better. Damn, she probably thinks you're weird." All these things that are bothering me today. I still have late nights where I think about that. Like, remember when you told Jenny Cristalli that she was hot? I was like, "Yes, thank you for bringing that up. You want to bring?"
But see, it's an asshole, and it's just here to chip away at your happiness, right? So one of the things that we're here to do is to learn how to overcome the asshole and be able to use your brain for the things you need, like accounting and other things. Like there's times that it's really important, right? But the most significant things your brain does is run the body systems that you don't have any control of. Right? It's the nerve center for everything, right? So it's running everything, but you're not doing that, right? So we give it way too much credit for the things that we have in our conscious mind, but our conscious mind isn't the truth.
Do you think that this is just something that our brain got programmed to do with just everything we've become as a society? Because I feel like if it's a part of us, why would it want to talk shit on us and bring us down so much as it
Because that's
does?
the point. So the whole point is, right? So imagine, if you will, if you're in another place, right? You can see it down here, but you're not here, okay? And you have the infinite knowledge of everything. You know every life you've ever had. You know everyone whose paths you've crossed. You know their past lives. You know all the things. You have the infinite knowledge of everything, okay? And you're looking down and you're like, okay, this time I need to experience this particular scenario. So I'm going to pick these people as my parents and I'm going to jump in here, right? So then you come into your body, but then you go through that wall of amnesia and then you don't remember who you are. Right? So human life is basically about trying to remember who we are. And some people live their whole life and they never even scratch the surface of who they are. Right? But that's the whole point, is just coming down and learning lessons. So when you come in, you don't know shit and you don't remember shit. And that's why that's why this is all here, right? So your brain is here as a barrier to the truth.
Now, is it protecting us or is it holding us back?
Oh, it's holding us back. Because if we could trust ourselves and not, it's like athletes, okay? So when I was racing bicycles, I trained and I raced and I trained and I raced and I suffered and I suffered and I suffered for years. And one day my coach looked at me and he said, "So what are you going to do when you win?" And I just looked at him and I was like, "What? Win?
I never even
What?"
thought
I
about
never
that.
even crossed my mind, right? And so, but athletes, right, they get into a space where when they can completely, you do the work, you do all the preparation, you rest a little bit, and then you get in this headspace where you're like, you just let it go. And then as if by magic, then you achieve the things that you wanted to achieve. But I think I think athletes, that's one of the easiest ways to kind of put it out there, but it works for everything, right? So it's overcoming your mind, because your mind is here as a barrier to the truth. So you're going to see things and think things in your head, but you're going to know things in your heart that are going to be different. And so it's learning how to listen to your heart knowledge. So it's kind of like, when I say heart knowledge, it does kind of come through your crown too, because you're connecting to your source, right? So all of us is together, like all of our energy together is beaming down through the crown of your head and giving you information as well. Right? But it's like, your knowing, right? Your soul's knowing is the truth. So there might be something that everyone says, blah, 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 blah. But deep down, you're like, no, man, that's not right. That's not how this is. Right? And that's the truth.
Yeah, sometimes you got to stick up and really kind of speak your
You
voice a
have to
little bit
really
too.
push through to be like, you know what? This is my truth. My truth is this. Right? And that's kind of the whole thing. Right? So it's like, people that need gurus and people that want to be analytical with the metaphysical and all that shit. Like, your biggest guru and the most important person that you ever listen to is your higher self.
Where do you get all
Every
these
book
things
that's
from?
ever, I download it, man.
No, I mean,
In my head.
where do you got some fortune cookie knowledge, yo? Like that shit that really hits you where you're like, that's some deep stuff. Like,
That's my life, man. That's where I am. That's where I live. I work my best to live in my heart. Because I know when I start being unhappy and I start getting frustrated and I start feeling like shit, I know that I've gotten to my head. And then I'm like, okay, you bastard, stop it. And it's like, okay, what do we need to do to get out of our heads? And I meditate. Meditation is like a really great tool to help get out of your head and get back into your heart, because it's essentially connecting to your knowledge and connecting to your soul when you meditate,
Ah.
right? And meditation doesn't have to be a blank mind. A meditation just needs to be an activity that your mind can shut the hell up enough so that you can get that information in.
Like working out for me, it's where all my
Yeah.
information gets processed. I always do that right in the morning before the day starts, so I'll be able to
Yeah.
function. Like I can't do anything without it.
Runners. Yeah,
Man,
runners too. It's a moving meditation,
it's
right? Running is a moving meditation. If you're a runner, when you get in the zone, man, oh, it feels good.
yeah, that's what they call the runner's high. Literally, you can ask me anything after like a nice run or something. I have so much like just cortisol in my body,
Hmm.
or like you could. I swear to you, you could literally take my car. I wouldn't give two shits.
Now you have to be mindful though, because those chemicals in your body that your body produces for you as a reward for the hard work are also addicting, right?
Well,
And
I'm
then sometimes
addicted.
you
I've
have to do
gone every
more
day for
and
7 years.
more.
Holy shit,
Yeah,
I'm a
you're
junkie for
you're
sure.
you're you're a total junkie for the gym. But there's worse things to be addicted to, is what I always said,
Crack.
right? Yeah. Oh, anything. Alcohol even. Like there's many things that cost more money that will be worse for you. Well, you could spend a lot of money on sports. I was a bike racer. I did have several carbon fiber
Well, I mean,
bicycles.
I'm addicted
But
to the gym, but everybody in my area that's my age is addicted to alcohol because that's a major antidepressant. If you look around, the world's pretty fucking depressing. I definitely need the gym to keep me balanced. If I don't have it, I'm gone. But like,
yeah, but
I
the
can,
thing is, the world isn't outside, the world is inside. When you look outside and everything looks like, oh my God, this place is going to shit, then you need to look inside and connect with yourself. And the more people that can take the time to like connect with themselves, right? And listen to their own truth and find their own higher self to be their own guru to navigate through the world, the more people that do that, the higher our vibration is and the better things are. All this shit that's going around right now, it's separating the sheep from the wolves. Okay? And a wolf is a beautiful thing.
that's another
It's
deep
not a
quote.
bad thing, right?
That's another
Wolves,
deep quote. You're
right?
coming at me hard, Rhonda. What are you doing to me?
But see, because I work hard to connect with my higher self. It's like I joke about it. I call it a download. A lot of times I can look at books and kind of know what's in it just from downloading it. So I like audiobooks so that I can speed through parts of it, because I'm like, yep, 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 yep. And then it's like, okay, all right, we're good.
Well,
But
you
it's
also got
because,
ADHD like me. I'll be doing
yeah.
like I'll be doing 5 different things while listening to a podcast in my head at the same time, thinking of something I'm planning on later in the day. It's very hard
Well,
to stay
yeah.
focused in the thing, but I get a lot of shit done. I like to be productive.
And that is also an addiction of sorts, but that's okay. Because what I learned when I came out here, right? It's just like there was nothing to do. There was no one here. I'm in this little house and I only had one dog and one cat when I got here. And, it was just quiet, you know, and it was like, but then I was like, yeah, I need this, and I'm like right by the water. Like I'm not on the water, but the water's like less than a click behind my house. If I open my bedroom window at night, all I can hear is the waves crashing. And it is amazing. I sleep with the window open all the time because my partner hates it. He comes in because he works nights and the bedroom's like freaking Antarctica in the morning. I'm all happy and he's like, oh, what's wrong with you?
But you
But
need
yeah,
that.
but no, it's nice to be in this space.
That's what you need, though. It's just like a magnet. You need that positive and negative that kind of attract to each other.
Exactly.
See, life's all about balance, and trying to find it, I think, is the key to everything. Trying to figure out where we have our own piece in the world. Like we're all puzzle pieces trying to fit together in the same thing. You might find out at the young age that you know what you want to do, or you might find out later in life. But it seems like the very first installations into our mind or our body or our experience in general, just like maybe something that we came across as a child, end up being the thing that we chase down at the end. It might be the thing that we've been literally right in front of us. The answer has been there, and we just had to look.
Well, that's very true. Because if you look at even my life, like when I was a little girl, I had all the animals, right? I wasn't allowed to have my own dog, so I had everyone else's dog. So I'd walk around with everyone's dog, right? I'd borrow people's dogs, or when I was a teenager, I'd walk around and neighbors' dogs would follow me around, and we'd sit at the swing park by myself with like a circle of dogs.
I can just
Right?
picture you now, like, yo, let me get that Shih Tzu.
But it's funny, like I would go for a walk. I remember the dog's name. There's Ralph and Eddie, and then I had 2 dogs that used to run the village I lived in. They were loose, and so we just all hang out and stuff. And I don't know. I've always been able to talk to spirit and feel spirit and deal with them. And so I don't know. And then when I got to a certain age, due to trauma and other things, I just blocked everything out. And then my family was all about business, right? So everybody's got to work, 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 work. If you're not working, you're a piece of crap. So it's this guy, work, 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 right? So then I got addicted to working and I got addicted to working out. And then I just spent up until I was 44, just hiding from myself, right? Now I did have my nervous breakdown in 2000 when I was 41, and I did start doing my work at that point. But it's a process, right? And it doesn't matter. No one's ever healing is not an end result. Healing is a constant state of being, right? So people get triggered and shit all the time. You get a trigger, no problem. You get a trigger, that has nothing to do with someone else, and that is no one else's responsibility but your own. And a trigger is there to just be like, ooh, shit. I'm going to have a look at that. But it's the things that help bring things into your reality to help you see that, there's stuff that needs to be adjusted. You need to have a look at that. And to look at things too, just journal.
It's an
Write
endless
shit down.
journey where information should be kind of kept down. First of all, anything that's really needed. Anybody got to really understand the fact is life is this thing with twists and turns and all these different things that'll throw you off and also come out of nowhere. You can't plan for it. Like next thing you know, you're planning to go to the beach. It rains the next day. Your plans are canceled. Okay. The thing is not to have a backup plan, but it's just always to expect the unexpected. Life's a journey. It's a mystery. It's a fine wine. You want to be able to drink it slow and enjoy it, or you could burn it out at both ends. It doesn't really matter. It's each is their own, I guess. But
Well, it depends what you came here for. Right?
exactly. It's all about
Everybody
leaving.
came here with a purpose.
Well,
And
feeling where
once you
you're
get
right
it,
in
then
the
you're
world.
done.
Like for
Yeah.
me, feeling where I'm right is by talking to so many people. For you, it might just be balancing out and being able to help as many people with your healing processes. To each is their own. Finding what you feel is what you need to be doing is what it is what you need to
Exactly.
focus on, because that'll lead you either to your end goal. That's the journey. That's what you need.
Exactly.
Working and then always dreaming about this one thing that you never end up pursuing is just fucking mindless, and it's not going to get you any happier, and it's not going to get you anywhere into your own goals, into your
It's
own
going to
life's mission.
always leave you with a terrible sense of lack. And if you have a strong sense of lack, you're always going to be lacking because you're always feeling that you don't have what you want, right? If you have this big pie in the sky thing and your whole life is about that you don't have it, then you're in a state of lack. And a state of lack mentality only creates further lack, right? So you know what I do sometimes, talk about social media, is if I'm pissed and shitty and I'm like, I hate everything and I hate people and I don't have any money and everybody sucks, and I get like that sometimes because I'm not perfect. Nobody is. So I'm like, I'll go on Facebook and I'll be like, I am just so grateful. I have the best friends and the best customers, and I am just humbled by the amazingness, for all the gratitude, for all the awesome shit in my life, right? And you might think
said it best, Rhonda. Katy Perry said it best. She said, "'Cause baby, you're a firework."
but you know what happens though? That shifts everything. That release of gratitude for all you have, even if you're a little bit bitter and you don't totally believe it, when you put that out to the universe, then holy shit, next thing you know, everyone's commenting and people are like coming to the store, and it creates a shift in your energy. So gratitude versus lack, right? So if you're feeling like you don't have enough, then you're always going to not have enough. As soon as you start feeling grateful, you have more to be grateful for. It seems super simplistic, but it works like crazy. If you're ever having one of those days, try it and just be like, I am just so freaking grateful for blah blah blah. But it's like, but once you put it out into the air, it's a thread that creates a tapestry that creates a reality that is coming up. If that makes sense.
You change your mind like a girl changes clothes. I don't know why I immediately started thinking these random songs, but it's all inspiration too. And I really appreciate you even coming out and doing the podcast. I know it was kind of like a drop of the hat, and I appreciate you, first of all, waking up early in the morning, because I know you're not a morning person, but it meant a lot.
I can be. I just haven't been since I came out here, because what am I going to do?
Talk to us, random strangers.
The cats are being pretty cool because I haven't fed them yet. Usually by now they'd be standing on my head.
That's the best part about having cats, is that they do random things. Well, I really appreciate you coming out and doing the podcast. I want to give you here a minute at the end to be able to promote your shop, your
Okay.
page, everything, so people can find your awesome work and maybe look to you if they need guidance.
Okay. So my shop is on Facebook, and it's Roro's Port Burwell, just spelled ROROSPORT BURWELL. My website is really simple. It's just roros.shop. I have readings in person, and I have online readings that I can do from anywhere, like for anywhere in the world. My YouTube channel, which I really need to, I have a few videos on there, but my lay of the land, my lay of the land video, which I think is one of the most interesting ones, if you're interested in hearing more about how I feel about the universe, is on my YouTube channel, which is Roro's Mystic Media on YouTube. So, and then on Instagram, I am Roro's Crystal Skulls. And I think that's pretty much it. My Twitter account's like, I don't do a lot on there.
Twitter's a mess anyway. That's a dumpster
Oh,
fire
it's everybody.
in itself.
It is such a dumpster fire, and I don't need that kind of energy really. I just want to be happy. So
It's all
I
about
think
creating positive vibrations. And I appreciate you,
exactly.
Rhonda, for coming out and doing the podcast. I'll make sure to link everything in the description so people can find your work. And thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of Out of the Blank podcast. And stay tuned for the next episode.